Alright, so let's get down to business. First things we want to do is we want to create our canvas area. Now, I am working in Adobe Photoshop CS6, and we're going to set our canvas to be 11 by 17, and we want to make sure that we're set for CMYK because we're printing this item. This is not actually designed for a web graphic, so we don't want RGB. We also want to make sure that we have 300 resolution because we want our image to be as clear as possible. Now, disclaimer, I design all these particular graphics before we actually record, and the main reason for this is I want to be able to have a step-by-step process for you, and I want to make sure that everything looks right before we actually go on the recording. So we're going to go through the steps and how I designed it versus watching me design something and not knowing exactly what the finished project is going to look like. So they're already done. We're just going to go through these steps. So I know a lot of you are going to have 8.5 by 11 because you're going to go to a arts and craft store. What I recommend is you find somebody that sells 11 by 17 either online or a distributor locally, and you find a printer that also can print 11 by 17. The reason for this is it's easier to sell a product that nobody else can create. Most people are going to have standard printers and they're only going to print 8.5 by 11. And if you are selling them something with a transfer on it, their first question is, can I do it myself? And if I can, why would I pay you? So up your game a little bit, get you a bigger printer and get some bigger transfer paper. And you also are able to create bigger items. You know, that just makes things easier to sell. So you want to do that first. Now, once everything is set with that and you have your canvas size set up here, let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty. And we're going to go ahead and create a white background because this is going on a white t-shirt. I will, however, show you what it looks like on a black background because I thought that was pretty cool too. But for what we're doing in designing, a white background is pretty much what you want to see. So first things first, the first image we actually went ahead and selected was the crown because this is going to be a funeral t-shirt, and the person I picked was the King of Pop. And I picked this particular person because I figured it would be a little bit more entertaining. I'm not going to use their real name because I might get in trouble for that, but we start off with a crown. I want this to be our center background drop. Now, as you can see, this particular image is not the best quality. It's really pixelated, but we're not going to use this image in as our final product. It is going to be used as a template to create what we want to create. And first things I had to do is I had to go ahead and get rid of the background. And so what I use is the lasso tool, and I draw on an Intuos Pro tablet from Wacom, and I just draw around the areas that I don't like here, and I just delete them. So just like that, I draw around them, delete those areas. Once I have all that stuff cleaned up as far as what I don't want in the picture, I'm going to go over to my magic tool, or my magic wand, and I am going to select around that crown. Then I'm going to go up to select and click inverse because we're going to drop a fill color in here. We want to have a silhouette of this crown, and it's going to help serve as a background for the behind the crown. So we go over here, and before I do a fill on that, I need to create a new layer, and that will allow me to drop in a full color here. And as you can see, now we have a dark silhouette of a crown in the shape that we need. So after doing that, I drop this behind our actual crown, and as you can see here, I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that layer because we already have one made. And here it is, that's behind our crown. Now with that done, our next step is we're going to select this area again, and we're going to inverse. And then we're going to go back up here, and I selected a space picture because I wanted to create this like fantasy type feel of heaven and earth in a kind of like outer space type scene. So I decided I would use a space picture like this to help us get that effect. And as you can see here, we still have our crown selected. We want to make sure we're on the picture layer, and we are going to go ahead, and with this all selected how it is, we are going to go ahead and hit copy. Then we're going to go and we're going to hit paste. Now we can turn off this particular picture here, and then I'm going to hit Command T, which is a shortcut for our transfer tool, our transform tool, and we're going to move this up a little bit here so that it is lined back up, and we're going to hit apply because that is what we want. Now from there we have this space picture, and this is going to help us create the look that we initially want in the end here. And the way we do that is I go to our blend options here, and I'm going all the way down to this one right here. And once you click that, bam, it gives us this beautiful space and crown type arrangement, and it looks like the stars are diamonds in the crown. And I actually go ahead and I pull all this down. I just smudge it down until it fits the shape of the crown here, and the end result for that looks like, let me get rid of this because we don't need it now, and we can turn those off. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Turn that off, and so our end resulted crown is going to look like this. Alright, and so once we have our crown set up, this is the backdrop for what we're going to build around. Now I decided, and I didn't really, I don't know if it's cool or not, but I just decided that we would just have the rise of the king, or rise of the king. And so the first things we want to do is we want to go ahead and put in our text. I used an impact font. Let's see here. And I put a stroke on it. And the reason I put a stroke on it is because we're going to fill the inside of the item. So real quick, what I did was this. I select that font area. I go to my magic wand tool, and I select each area here, the inside. Then I create another layer over top of that. Okay. And once I create the layer over top of that, I can now fill the inside of this. And what I did is I used our clone tool here. I went back to where our crown is, and I like this rich little red area here. So I'm just going to use this particular area, and I'm going to hold Option on a Mac. Don't ask me what it is on a PC. I should know, but at the moment it slipped my mind. But I hold down Option, and I select that area there. Then I just go ahead and I fill in. Once you go back up to the right layer, make sure you're on the right layer. But here is our layer here above our crown, and I just fill that area in, and I just keep going back and selecting that same area because I want it all to look like that. Okay, in the end result, we're not going to use that particular one per se because we already have made this, so we don't have to keep using that. But where our end result looks like this, And as soon as I get there, let's see, there's a king. There we go. And this is what our effects. So having that stroke around it, once we fill everything in there, and this help ties in our overall general image of what we're creating here. All this up here, put in here, just makes for a little real beautiful type ordeal there. And as I'm hitting everything else, so with that said, we can go to the rest of our lettering here. I do want to make sure we also put a white highlight at the top, and that comes in handy because, yeah, there it is, I see it. We're going to have an image that goes over top of this, and we still need this to stand out. So that's how we did these center items here. We basically created, and there's a couple different ways that you can do this, and I show it periodically. Let me get out of that so I can stop selecting. But there's a couple different ways that we do that, and this is the way I did this first piece here. Now, it's Rise of the King, and so let me go ahead and put in the rest of what we had here. So I did a similar thing here, which is once we get to the lettering at the top, I make sure that I selected these as well, and then we went ahead and we filled those, and then we put a stroke around those as well. And we also, there we go, we also decided that we were going to do the dates, death dates, which were when he was born and when he died. And then we also went ahead and recreated the same thing, same effects, same feels, doing the same process. As you can see here, just want to go ahead and add that in. Now I did move the final there, so I don't want that in the way. And here we go. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got some interesting design and shape going on, and we want our design to be balanced. So let me just kind of explain what I got going on here. The crown bows out a little bit, so I wanted to make sure that I had something to give it balance on both sides, and the dates worked out perfectly that way. We also wanted to make sure that everything matched, and that's the reason why I used the colors that were already within the crown, and I kind of worked with that. So this is our backdrop, and as you can see, we've got a nice little backdrop here. Rise of the King, 1958 to 2009. Now we want to go into our image, and this is kind of what set things off. So let's go here, and we don't want to use the final yet. We want to find, there we go. So here is our image, and I just thought it was a really good image to use. I used the lasso tool to edit around it as well, and I thought, man, this is just a great concept to be like right there. Everything spreads out, as you can see. He's standing here and it spreads out and he fills in that crown, but you can still see the background, and I think that's really cool. But it's kind of like ashy, and so the way that I deal with that is we're going to hit Command L. Of course, you have to be on that layer. Command L, and that will bring up our levels here, and you can just darken them up a little bit here. Just slide that over, and as you can see, we get a lot sharper color, a lot more rich there. And so I used that, and then I decided, you know what, we can't leave it like this. We have to put something else to make it so that you understand that it's also a funeral t-shirt, but we wanted it to be energetic. So I decided, and let me go to the finished one here, that we were going to add some things to it. And because this particular person died, I thought angel wings would be really appropriate. But then I also like the energy that he has coming out towards these arms. And I thought, like, man, we need to do something that would actually show up real sweet with that. And I apologize for that loud sound that went by, because that is obviously my neighborhood. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and where are we at? We're gonna put a glow on his hands, just because there's just so much energy there, and I just have to find, there we go, here's the glow. Alright, so the way I created this glow, and it was pretty basic, I first went ahead and I traced around the hands with the lasso tool, and then once that particular area was selected, I dropped in a yellow and I took the transparency down. Okay, once I took the transparency down a little bit, I went ahead and I added an effect, and I added an outer glow. I just went to the effects here and I added an outer glow, and it already defaults with a yellow color, so it kind of just worked out perfectly there. And as you can see, it still matches all this color in the background, so it was just like really a great effect to have right there. And it's just like he's supercharged, and it's like, oh, you know. So in either case, that was the effect I decided to do there, but I didn't want to stop, and I thought we should add something else. And so I was like, you know what, the thing that would set this off is some angel wings. And so I went ahead and I found some angel wings, and I went ahead and edited those. Same process, I just draw around with the lasso tool. However, we're using one wing, and I make it two, and I'm gonna go over that here. Let's get them in there. So the first thing I did was, after editing, because the first wing I had was just really just this right side wing here, and I decided the easiest way to make this work in my favor was I copied it and mirrored it. Then I went ahead and transformed it until it fit the angle of his body. Because as you notice here, these wings over here are a little bit smaller, and they are pushed back just a little bit, just so that they can fit the effect of his body, so that we understand he's kind of sideways here, and we wanted it to really flow. And with that shirt going up, it kind of like hit it, like, you know, like bam, those wings just jump out at you. So this is how we went through the process of designing it. I hope that this part has been informative. I know it was kind of quick. I wanted to show you what it looks like with black as well. So, and like I said, I think it looks really cool on a black shirt. I might do another tutorial where I show you how to print on black as well with this image, but we'll probably design something else because I like to have different things for each video. So that is our image here, and now we want to set things up. First thing I normally do when I am going to print an item like this, you want to set it up. Transfers have to be printed in a reverse, at least transfers that are going to run off an inkjet printer. And so go ahead and merge all your levels together here, all your layers. Merge visibly, And as you can see, I went ahead and took out the background. I didn't want it to merge with that. I'm going to hit Command T and I'm going to bring this up a little bit just so that we're centered. All right, over a tad bit. Okay, and just click anywhere over there and hit apply. And then I am going to say image rotation, flip horizontal, bam. Okay, all this has to be backwards, so that way when you print it on your printer, it goes on backwards onto the shirt to before when you're printing on a transfer that's for light t-shirts. And so this is the way it needs to actually show when you are going to print it. So we'll save it as a JPEG. Yes. And we're going to just put it on the desktop for now. And JPEG. That's the right one. Rise of the King. Alright. And we're just going to hit save. And bring up there we go. Alright, so here's our final product. I'll reverse it back so you can see what it is before we flip the image. This is what it looks like before it was flipped. And that is our final product. And like I said, we reverse it because we're going to print on transfer paper backwards. So our next steps are going to be printing.